Hello everyone, Minute Plus Meditation here. Saturday, December the 3rd, the Feast of St. Francis Xavier. Incredible missionary, one of the greatest missionaries in the history of the church. Perhaps only second to St. Paul himself. How he gave himself, spent himself for the peoples of what we call the Far East. India, China, I think he even went to Japan, if I'm not mistaken. But he just tirelessly preached the gospel. Francis Xavier. Okay, we are in Isaiah chapter 30. Thus says the Lord God, the Holy One of Israel, truly the people of Zion, inhabitants of Jerusalem, you shall weep no more. He will surely be gracious to you at the sound of your cry. When he hears it, he will answer you. Though the Lord may give you the bread of adversity and the water of affliction, yet your teacher will not hide himself anymore, but your eyes will see your teacher. So obviously the people are going through a difficult time. And these prophecies are meant to kind of encourage them, remind them that God has not abandoned them. And in fact, they deserve what they're getting. And unfortunately, what happens is because if I'm born into a rich family, I acquire wealth through no merit on my own. Remember that. No merit on my own. If I'm born into a family of poverty, I inherit poverty through no merit of my own, through no cause of my own. It was not my fault. So we are born into a human family, and we are born into a country, we are born into a people. And the people, so the innocent suffers, what I'm getting at, because we're part of a family. We are responsible for each other to one degree or another. We can't just say, well, I'm not my brother's keeper. In a certain way we are, so it's not that I'm responsible in every single way. Each of us, of course, has personal responsibility, but we can't just back off and say, I have no concern about my neighbor. So the Lord here is basically teaching them that yes, you are going through this suffering because of your own sins. And the prophets are very aware of this. If you listen to the prayers of the prophets and you read them and pray them, they're never saying, we're innocent. They're always admitting sin and guilt and then beseeching God for his mercy. So the Lord is saying, he will not hide himself anymore, but your eyes shall see your teacher. Well, in fact, God is always present, but like a good father, he's reminding his children that he is never abandoned them, even in the midst of their difficulties, sorrows, sadnesses, and sufferings. But we think he does abandon us in these moments. That's why it's so important to pray when we're healthy and when everything is going well, so that when things aren't going well, we remember God never abandons us. He can't. He would never do this. So over to the gospel, Matthew chapter 9. Jesus went about the cities and villages, proclaiming the good news. When he saw the crowds, he had compassion on them because they were harassed and helpless like sheep without a shepherd. Then he said to his disciples, the harvest is plentiful, but the laborers are few. Therefore ask the Lord of the harvest to send out laborers into his harvest. So obviously, we've heard this many times in our life. It's used for vocations. But I would just my caveat would be, just having more priests is not the solution. And we need more priests. We obviously need good vocations. So the harvest is plentiful, but the laborers are few. Just by having more priests doesn't mean that everything's going to get better. We need men who are formed according to God's own heart. We need men who are serious about proclaiming the good news and building up God's people and teaching them to be missionary disciples. That's what we need. We need lay people who are called to marriage and are going to live their vocation to marriage. We need single people who perhaps are called to the single life, or who at least, perhaps have never gotten married through no fault of their own, who are willing to give themselves and their time, not become selfish or narcissistic or sad or droopy, but give themselves generously for the sake of the building up of God's kingdom. That's what we need. We need committed people to really address the needs of the harvest. The harvest is plentiful, but the laborers are few. So it's not just a matter of packing in more men to the seminary. That could lead to more and more problems. But we need men and women men, obviously men for priests after God's own heart, laymen and women who are after God's own heart, and we need to be intentional about serving the harvest, as it were. God bless you.